And thanks, Sine, and welcome everyone. As mentioned, I'm Heather Dillon. I'm from the Office of Postdoctoral and Research Scholar Affairs. And so today I'll be talking to you about how to kind of consider if a postdoc is the right step for you for the next stage in your career. And so as we're getting started, the first thing I'd like to talk about is thinking about what is the purpose of a postdoc. And the National Academy of Sciences gives us a definition for the purpose of a postdoc, in that it is to further develop the professional research skills that are required for a significant contribution to science and society. So again, unpacking that a little bit, you can think about the goals for postdoc training as furthering your research training, gaining new experience, either in a new technique or a new research field or area. You're going to want to build skills that'll be useful for you for the career that you'd like to pursue, whether that's in academia or outside of academia. And like I said, ultimately, it should be a stepping stone to help you to better prepare for that future career that you're wanting to pursue. And so when we look at why individuals decide to do a postdoc, this is data from Nature Jobs from postdocs around the world. You can see that there's a variety of reasons that people give. So some of them are, productive and related to kind of the goals of the postdoc we just discussed. So you can think about it as it's the next step in your career, that they're interested in a tenure track position, they're interested in discovery or the scientific process, and then there's some less productive reasons that are listed up here. Again, something like they couldn't find anything else, didn't know what else to do, just afraid of doing something outside of their comfort zone. So again, hopefully, if you consider embarking on a postdoc, we hope that it's hopefully for a more productive reason, or again, thinking about what it is that you can get out of a postdoc as opposed to one of these less productive reasons. So before you even consider whether you want to apply for a postdoc, it's really important to think about what are your goals? What are you hoping to achieve career-wise? And how can doing a postdoc contribute towards or help you towards achieving that longer term career goal? And so we're going to do a little activity now to help you kind of brainstorming, working through that. So if you guys can open up a web browser or go on your phones to menti.com, and then you'll enter the code that you see listed on the screen here, which is 62475, and go ahead and share what is your current career goal, or careers that you think you might be interested in pursuing longer term. And this is completely anonymous. So somebody doesn't know yet, totally fine. We got a number of different research type careers. People interested in faculty or professoriate careers. So research in different environments like government or maybe industry, in addition to academia. Teaching. All right, excellent. Thank you for sharing. And so again, as a second part of this question, thinking about that career goal, what would you want to learn or achieve in a postdoc that would help you to get to that career or to be successful in obtaining that longer term career position? So gaining some additional skills, figuring out how to obtain funding. So that could be considered a skill you'd be working on. Getting more publications. So that will help you to be successful with your job applications. Connecting with people. Yep. Yeah, especially if you're looking at changing fields, networking with people who are going to be in the field that you're interested in joining, getting that inside information. So learning some other skills outside of research, some administrative, grants administration, understanding those types of activities. Collaborating, which can be thought of as a form of networking. Again, so expanding who you're working with, your research network. Just give it another minute for anyone to enter anything they think about. So more grant writing. Excellent. Well, thank you all for sharing. So again, I like to start out here because I think it's really important to think about before we even talk about how do I evaluate opportunities, you need to really understand what it is that you're trying to achieve longer term and how does the postdoc fit into that, so you can really figure out, is an opportunity right for you? And so you've got 6 areas that we're going to talk through when you're thinking about opportunities that you can kind of evaluate and see how that opportunity matches with where you're going, what your goals are, and what you're hoping to achieve. And I have a handout actually about these, so you will receive, don't feel like you have to take copious notes. Everything's on the handout. It kind of goes through each of these 6 key areas and some of the questions you may want to ask yourself or find the answers to when you're doing this evaluation process. And so starting out, we're going to start with institution. So you can think about what kind of institution do you want to do your research at or work at? Do you want to conduct research at a university like UC San Diego? Are you interested in transitioning to a career in industry? So maybe you want to consider an industry postdoc. Do you want to work for a research institution? So an example of that would be something like Salk or Sanford Burnham Prebys in our local area. Or do you want to work at a research hospital? So an example of that would be Scripps in our area. And a lot of that may be determined by the type of research you want to do. So are you really motivated and interested in just basic research where you're just, seeking understanding of principles and kind of doing it for the academic exercise of finding out the truth or finding out information or finding out how things work? Are you interested in a clinical research where you're working with patient populations or in some sort of health issues? Are you interested in doing something translational where you're making that tie between the academic basic research findings and applying it to some sort of real world context? Again, making that formal transition process. Or do you really want to be involved in the application part of it? So do you want to make sure that the research you're working on is directly applicable so that you will see it being applied in some sort of real world context to solve some real world problem? That immediacy of the application. And some of that, may be determined by the actual research questions that interest you. So you're going to want to think about, the specific projects that you're interested in working on, how those align with your passions and what motivates you. And again, in considering that, thinking about what will be new to you in this research area. If you're staying in the same field, are you going to be learning a new technique? Are you applying it in a new way? Are you collaborating with someone new? Or are you looking to explore a question from a whole new perspective or enter a whole new research area? You also want to think about how the specific projects you're working in will fit into the larger group that you're working with. So whether that's the PI or the lab, the department, or even the institution. So how does your specific project tie into the environment you're in? And ultimately, how does this facilitate your longer term career goals? How is it helping you to get where you want to go? And as I talked about, there will be the specific project you're working on, there's a specific unit that you're working with, but it's also important to consider, what is the focus of the institution? What is the overall research that's being conducted? What are the quality of investigators in your field, in your area, and also in other fields that you may want to intersect with? because this comprises your research network, right, in the immediate sense, and also can help to define collaboration opportunities that are available to you. So if you're interested in collaborating or having that intellectual stimulation of having other high quality researchers, you may want to know like who else is available in your immediate institution, and also maybe even in the general area that you're working in, like the San Diego area. So to conduct your research, obviously you need to have the right facilities or resources available to help you do that. And so again, what is your access to the resources or equipment that you need to do your research? And you can think about resources as physical equipment. This could be people we talked about. This could also be, monetary resources, right? Do you have funding to actually do what you need to do? And so you can think about that, like what do you have access to? What do you have the ability to fund it from the individual lab or research group you're with? Do you need to bring your own funding individually to fund whatever you're working on? What are the resources and support that are offered by the institution you're working at? Do they provide any resources and support that they make available to researchers in your area or researchers across the institution? And what resources or access do you have to equipment through partnerships with other institutions in the area, or maybe, industry partners or things like that? So will you have what you need to do what you want to do? And when you're thinking about these shared research facilities, it's also important to think about, where are they? How easy is it for you to get there? How far does it, do you have to drive 30 minutes? Or is it something that you can walk to, or is it in the same building you're working in? How are they maintained and who's responsible for that? Is that something you're going to be expected to contribute to? Are there professionals who maintain it, or is it just kind of up to everyone's discretion to maintain it? Who do you contact if there's a problem with something? And again, what do you pay for that? What kind of cost is associated with that? What are the services that are available? So will they do what you need them to do? Is it something that they offer training and then you'll need to learn how to do something? Is it full service, like you just tell them what they need and they do it? Can you actually get in to use any of this? So do you need to schedule things 6 months in advance, or put in your request 6 months in advance to have access to whatever you need? And again, what is the cost associated with that, and how is that funded? So in addition to thinking about, the facilities and the resources, do you have what you need? You can also think about the environment that you're going to be working in, and starting with the lab or group environment that you're looking to join. So what does that look like? Is it a big lab? Is it a small lab? How does that match with what your preferences are? Who makes up that lab? Is it mostly senior or junior people? Is it diverse? Is it, who constitutes the members of that group? And what are the interactions or interaction opportunities like? So, again, is everyone working on their own projects independently? Or people tend to work together on projects? And again, thinking about that with your preferred working style and how you like to conduct your research. Are there lab meetings? And if there are lab meetings, how frequently are they? And what do they look like? Is it everyone reporting out on what they do and getting feedback? Is it one person presenting each time and getting feedback? Is it more journal club style, where people are bringing interesting articles or topics to discuss from the current literature? And like I said, what are opportunities to collaborate? Is that encouraged? Is that something you want to do? Is it collaboration kind of limited to people within the group? Is it encouraged in the department? Or is it a lab that collaborates more diversely outside of the institution and with various entities? So again, when you're looking at the lab members too, it's important to think about, like, are they happy with what they're doing? Are they productive? Are they achieving what they want to achieve? Are they moving on to the types of positions that they want to move on to? Is there support to help them with that job transition? And, if it's important to you, in thinking about, do the members of this group socialize outside of research? How inclusive is the group? Or do you feel like you would feel part and welcome in that environment and within that team? And it's also important to consider the principal investigator, who's going to be your supervisor in your postdoc experience. So are they a more senior investigator? Are they just starting out? Are they more junior? And how does that match with what you're looking for from their mentoring style? How available are they? Are they super busy? Or do they have a lot of time and spend a lot of time with their trainees? And ultimately also their management style. So how do they oversee people, and how do they, and does that match with the type of management or mentorship that you're looking for? And so we're going to do another poll now, and just thinking about, you know, what are some things you're looking for from a PI or from a manager that you would want to help you do your best work? So what kind of management style works best for you? What are types of things that you would want or need from your PI or from your manager? Someone who's supportive, someone who can provide you guidance for your career, someone who will help you network, introduce you to people, someone who's going to respond to you, yes, you know, and actually, you know, make sure that they are answering whatever questions you have or responding to your needs, that are supportive, you find them inspiring, so again, and that they care about you, that they can provide you guidance on your research and where you want to go. So understanding, yep. So they prioritize the people who work for them. So grant support, connections for your career. Great, excellent. And it's important to think about, you know, we're going to talk about evaluating the PI for the particular role you're doing, but in any type of career, and postdoc is no different, it's often encouraged to have multiple mentors. So, you know, your PI, it's unrealistic to expect one person to kind of meet all of your mentoring needs, but it's important to consider what are your mentoring needs and what do you want to make sure that you get from the person who's directly supervising you? And then what are the other things that you would like mentorship on? And then go ahead and expanding your mentor network and identifying other people who can help fill those needs at the institution you're considering working at, or, you know, maybe you're having mentors from previous institutions that you still maintain those relationships with, or in a career field that you're looking to transition to if you're not interested in staying in academia. So all of these things are really important to think about. So thank you again all for sharing. So we're going to talk about some more specific things to think about when evaluating a potential mentor for your postdoc. So as we talked about, you know, are they accessible? Do you feel comfortable talking with them and interacting with them? Are they someone you feel you can approach, you know, when you have questions or concerns? This is really important to think about. You know, they may be the most brilliant scientists, but if you don't feel comfortable talking with them or don't feel like you can approach them when you have issues or need guidance, they may not be the best mentor for you. We talked about availability. Again, how frequently are you going to be able to meet with them? Are they, you know, the type of person where you're going to need to schedule appointments to meet with them? Or can you just, is the type of person where you're going to be able to just pop into their office and have those impromptu conversations? Do they actually pop into the lab to check on and see how you're doing? Or again, are you only going to see them if you actually schedule time, put time on their calendar and schedule something to have that interaction? And what is your preference? Do you have a preference on how you have those interactions? Are they successful? So again, ideally you want them to be successful in their own research. So again, what's their publication record like? What is their grant funding record like? But also you want to consider, what is their mentoring record like? You know, have they successfully mentored other trainees in the past? What types of careers have those trainees gone on to? What kind of support did those mentees receive? You know, talking with those other mentees to see how they found that experience. And again, seeing if that is going to be a good match for what you're looking for. And in particular in the management style. So how involved is the PI in projects? Are they more of a big picture person? Do they like to be involved in the details? And again, and does that match with what you're looking for from someone to help you with your research development or with your career development? Will they encourage you to apply for grants or fellowships? And what kind of support will they offer and provide as far as guidance and helping you with that process, if that's something you're interested in? And ultimately, how do they provide feedback and motivation? And is that going to be in the way that's going to inspire you to do your best work and get what you want out of that relationship? So in addition to the lab environment, you're going to want to also consider the environment at the institution as a whole. And so you're going to think about the research community. And we've talked a little bit about this already, but just to give you an example of what I'm talking about, you consider the UCSD research community. It's a fairly large research community. So there's over 100 research centers on the UCSD campus, a lot of external funding and grant support that's coming in to fund the research that goes on here. So in fiscal year 2019, we had $1.35 billion in sponsored research at UC San Diego. Nature ranked us as number 4 among US public research institutions for high quality science. And we've been number 4 in the nation, according to the Milken Institute, for startup creations. There's a lot of innovation and commercialization that goes on through the research at UC San Diego. You can also think about who the postdoc community is that you'll be interacting with in your institutional research community. And this is just a breakdown of the postdocs across all the UC campuses. And you'll notice that UC San Diego actually has the largest postdoc community out of any of the UCs, and a relatively large postdoc community for pretty much any research institution. So again, the research community at UCSD is really large, diverse, and there's a lot of opportunities to interact and network, both professionally and personally. And again, that's a lot of what we're talking about with the opportunities in the research community is who are you able to collaborate with at your institution? What are the interactions for? And a lot of this can also lead to the other opportunities that get brought to the campus too. So such as seminars, what conferences come through the area, and the workshops that are available to participate. And the UC San Diego Postdoctoral Association actually lists all of the seminars that are available at the UCSD campus. So if you're looking for kind of an all-in-one list to look through the seminars in the different departments and research areas, this is a great resource to kind of check that out and see what's coming on our campus here. You also want to think about what are the centers and resources that are available to support postdocs. And at UC San Diego, we have a variety of resources and campus centers that are available to support postdocs both personally and professionally in their pursuits. It's also important to consider what are the values of the institution that you're joining and the principles that they support and advocate for. And at UC San Diego, we have both our principles of community, and also our strategic plan for inclusive excellence that are coordinated through our Office of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. So again, if you're not familiar with those, you can check out that information on diversity.ucsd.edu. But it's important to consider that, whatever institution you're looking to join, what are the values that they support? And does that align with your own values and the community that you'd like to be a member of or part of? So one of the other things you want to think about is support for you personally in the position. And this is often where a lot of people start and don't go beyond. So when you think about support, often you think about salary, and obviously salary is important. It's important consideration. So these are the postdoc salary levels at UC San Diego, actually minimum salary levels at UC San Diego. So it's based on years of postdoctoral experience. All of our postdocs have to be paid at least this, but their pay can be higher than this at the PI's discretion or based on the funding that they receive. So again, not just the dollar amount of the salary you're receiving, but it's also important to consider how is your salary supported? So what funding is being used to pay your salary? And this has important implications for taxation. So again, depending on how you're paid, it can determine whether taxes are being withheld or not from your salary, and whether or not, and then you have to figure out whether or not you need to be withholding your own taxes or what part of your income is taxable. And it can also affect the benefits that you're eligible for, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in the next slide. But you also want to think about how long is your salary support guaranteed? So is it guaranteed at all? And if so, what duration is it guaranteed? And so postdocs at UC San Diego receive contracts, and your salary is guaranteed for the duration of your contract. Our postdocs are also part of a union, so they're represented by the United Auto Workers Union, which provides them a number of protections, again, including these salary minimums and also with the contracting and some other things that we'll talk about as we move on. So as I mentioned, in addition to salary, you also want to think about what benefits are available. So what benefits do postdoctoral fellows receive? As I mentioned, depending on how your salary is supported or your position is funded, your benefits may differ. So again, that's something to find out about or consider as you're considering opportunities. It's also important to know, if your funding changes over the course of your position too. So again, this could change through the course of your postdoc, depending on where your funding is coming from and how that changes. And again, depending on how your position is funded, it also might affect, not only what benefits you're eligible for, but also possibly your contributions or the payments that you make to receive your benefits and how your benefits are supported. So again, the institutional component of that. So is it paid by the institution? Is it paid by your PI? It may be charged to your fellowship. Those are all things that are important to consider and think about as you're evaluating opportunities. And so at UC San Diego, our postdoc benefits are, again, part of our union negotiated contract. So all of our postdocs are eligible to receive medical, dental, vision, and long-term disability for themselves and any and all dependents that they have. So again, and those are voluntary programs, so they don't have to get coverage, but you can request to have coverage. And then the personal payment from the postdoc is set and dictated by the union contract. So all postdocs have the same personal contribution that they make. We also have a number of benefits that all of our postdocs automatically receive. So again, there's no cost to the postdocs for these benefits. They just automatically receive them. All the cost is incurred by the university. This includes short-term disability, life insurance, accidental death and dismemberment, and workers' compensation. And if anyone's interested in more information about that, you can check out our website for additional information about the benefits programs. At UC San Diego, our postdocs also qualify for paid leave benefits. And again, this is something else that you want to consider when you're considering postdoc opportunities. Not all institutions do offer paid leave programs for their postdocs. And some of that may depend on how postdocs are, the type of employment that postdocs are considered to have at a particular institution. And again, sometimes this benefit can also vary based on how your position is funded. All postdocs at UC San Diego, regardless how their position is funded, are considered employees of the employee. The university considers them employees. So they all qualify for these leave programs. And again, this is also part of the negotiated contract with the union for postdocs. So all postdocs at UC San Diego receive 24 days of what they call personal time off and 12 sick days per year. And then there's additional leaves that postdocs also qualify for. And again, more information on our website. One of the other programs that we offer for our postdocs at UC San Diego is the Dependent Care Travel Grant Program. And this is a program that seeks to help offset expenses for child or adult dependent care costs that are incurred by postdocs when they're traveling for professional development opportunities. Obviously, right now, people are not traveling, but once that resumes again, postdocs can apply for this grant to reimburse up to $1,000 in eligible expenses. And anyone who's interested in learning more about that program can, again, check out our website. So another aspect of support to think about is representation. So again, our postdocs represented by an office that's dedicated to their needs? And is there a postdoc association or postdoc council at the institution that you're looking to join? And so at UC San Diego, we have the Office of Postdoctoral and Research Scholar Affairs, of which I am a member. And this is a central office that oversees all postdoc matters, including appointment, benefits, services, and career development. And, as you probably know, the UCSD campus is kind of divided into different groups, which include General Campus, Health Sciences, and Scripps Institution of Oceanography. And the Office of Postdoctoral and Research Scholar Affairs at UC San Diego oversees postdocs regardless of where they're working on campus. So we oversee all the postdocs at UC San Diego. Similarly, we have a postdoctoral association at UC San Diego that also works on behalf of all UC San Diego postdocs. And it's a group of volunteer postdocs who work on a variety of career development, networking, and social activities to form community and provide opportunities for postdoc trainees. And, these are the different areas that are represented by our postdoc organization. So you can see, or postdoc associations, so you can see, kind of the different avenues that they're involved in. And there's a variety of other ways that postdocs can get involved in the UC San Diego campus, including being a departmental representative for their department, serving on campus committees, or helping out with PDA events. And some of those PDA events are career development focused. They also have, social events to help build community, help postdocs meet people outside of their research area. And then they have a number of annual events too that again focus on community building and or career development. So leading us into, again, career development. So when you're evaluating a postdoc opportunity and thinking about the institution, what programming is specifically provided for postdoctoral fellows to assist with their career development, and what type of career development opportunities are available. So at UC San Diego, we have the EPIC Postdoc Training Program, which stands for Explore, Prepare, Innovate, Connect. And this is based on the National Postdoctoral Association core competencies that they've put together for postdoc training. And the programs we provide are made possible by partnerships with a variety of different partners on campus and also in the larger San Diego community. And so we've put together kind of these competency regions for training. So we have 5 areas of training that are meant to supplement the discipline-specific and research skill development knowledge that postdocs are getting through their research appointment and within their labs from their PIs. And so these areas include scholarly and professional communication, professionalism and career preparation, leadership and management, responsible conduct of research, and health and wellness. And we put together a training passport that provides a foundation in all of these areas, as well as the opportunity to specialize training to prepare postdocs for the particular career they're interested in pursuing. So again, more information about all of that on our website. And so the final aspect that I'll talk about when you're evaluating positions is location. So it's really important to think about like where an institution is located. And again, we'll do another poll here to have you start thinking about what are some location factors that are important to you when you're considering where you might work for a postdoc or for a future position. And you'll need to enter a new code for this. So you'll either need to refresh your browser or open a new window and go to menti.com and then enter this updated code here. It's listed on the screen, 7806690. Yep, so close to family or, considerations if you have a partner or significant other who you're living with or moving with, where they're working or where opportunities are for them, weather or climate, rent, so cost of living, housing, is that something you can afford? What the city culture is, what the opportunities are for, entertainment in the area. Or again, does the culture, is it someplace you feel comfortable and feel like you'd be part of the community? Travel, what are the opportunities for travel? How hard is it to get different places? So again, is it something where you can, what are the policies related to immigration or visa? And is it somewhere where you'd be able to work? Or again, if you have others who you're considering, who are you bringing with you, would they be able to work? What are the opportunities for them? How hard is it, the number of singles, how hard is it to meet people? What are the opportunities for interacting? Excellent. All right. So thanks again for sharing, everybody. And you brought up a lot of the ones that I had on my list. So again, what's the metropolitan area like? What are the opportunities there? What's the community or demographics of the area? How diverse it is? What are the populations that are represented? Is it someplace that you'd feel comfortable? You feel safe? You feel included? Transportation. So how easy is it to get around? Do you need a car? Are there public transportation options? What's parking like? What are the costs associated with all of that? Weather and climate we talked about. So again, what is that like? Is it something that aligns with what you enjoy? You know, maybe you enjoy having 4 seasons, maybe you enjoy having it warm year round, or you know, maybe that's not a factor that you care about too much. Parks and recreation. So again, if you enjoy outdoor activities, what are the opportunities for getting out and doing things, or even recreation? What are the types of entertainment options that are available in the community? Are there the opportunities to do the things that you like to do and you enjoy doing for fun? How hard is it to get them? How expensive are they? Housing, somebody talked about rent. So again, what types of housing are available? Are there options to rent or buy? And what's your preference? How far do you have to go to get those? How affordable are they, or how expensive are they? And does that fit in to what you're paying? So again, cost of living, what does it cost to live there? What are all these costs add to? How does that compare with the salary you're receiving? And can you actually afford to live in that area? And most importantly, can you see yourself living there, right? Is a place that you could see yourself, you know, being part of and thriving. Now, for most of the time, a postdoc is not a permanent position, right? And so you're only going to be doing your postdoc for 3, you know, 2 to 3, sometimes up to 5 years. Most institutions now have capped postdoc training actually at a total of 5 years. So it's not a forever decision for most people, but again, it's still a significant period of time. And so these are things that you may want to think about and consider, you know, not only just the research environment where you're going to be working, but the rest of your life outside of the lab. What is that like? And again, for each of us, this is going to be an individual decision. So some people, this will be more important. Some people will care less. It's kind of like buying a house or finding an apartment. You'll have your wish list. You know, these are the 6 areas you should consider thinking about. But for each person, they're going to have their different set of priorities and different set of factors. It's unlikely that you're going to find an opportunity that checks off all the boxes on your wish list and meets everything. But you can think about balancing which of these are most important to you, what are the factors that it brings, and what's what opportunity is the best match for you based on your priorities and your needs. So now that we've talked about kind of the factors to consider, for the last part of today, I'd like to focus on how do you actually go about finding positions to apply for. And so again, we'll do another Menti investigation. So what are some ways that you think you could go about finding a postdoc position? So yeah, advice from your current PI, looking at job postings, looking at websites, lab websites, institution websites, reaching out to people, emailing people, networking, definitely. Asking friends or collaborators. Yep, calling people. Conferences, definitely. Yeah, places where you can have the opportunity to network and interact with people. All right, excellent. So you guys came up with a lot of the ones that I'm talking about. You know, and this is important to consider that, you know, you can look online, you know, at institutional websites, job boards, social media. A lot of people are using Twitter now for posting positions in the sciences, but you can also look at, you know, Facebook or LinkedIn as other opportunities where people are posting. But again, a lot of positions in academia, and actually a lot of positions regardless outside of academia, just positions in general, are filled through networking. And in particular, postdoc opportunities are often not posted until a candidate's already been identified that the PI is interested in hiring. So if you're only looking, not that you can't be successful just applying online, but if you're only looking online, you're missing out on a lot of opportunities that might be available for you. So it's important to get out there and actually develop your networks and meet people and talk to people and get known, get recognized, and develop that network to get in, so you are the candidate that they've identified before they post the position, or that they reach out to you when they have an opportunity, or when you're ready to actually apply and transition to a postdoc. You can reach out to the PIs who you've already connected with to let them know that you're ready and see if that opportunity is available. So again, you can connect to people at career fairs, so at your institution, professional organizations, scientific societies. Often this will not be the place where you'll meet PIs, but you may meet recruiters or other people working at the institution who can help connect you with the appropriate PIs that you want to form those relationships with. Somebody mentioned your mentors. So again, your PI or supervisor, your scientific collaborators, or even alumni from your program or from the lab you're working with. These are great people to reach out to ask them, what the opportunities they've heard of, who they think you might be interested in talking with based on your research interests, and helping you to connect with those people. Publications, if you can start there too with publications from people who are working in the area you're interested in, doing exciting research on the topic that you're interested in pursuing. So you can contact the authors, try to connect with those people at conferences, talk to them about what they're doing, their work, maybe ways you could potentially collaborate, and ultimately how you might fit into their future research endeavors or needs. So again, at conferences, talking to people whose presentations you hear, who you're really excited about. And even now in these virtual conferences, I would say don't be afraid to reach out to people who have presented or who you've heard talk, and connect with them by email, set up a time for a phone call or a Zoom to chat, check in, to talk about mutual interests. Conferences also, don't overlook the career development sessions. Sometimes those people are often invested in the professional development of young scientists. And again, even if they might not be the right person for you to potentially work for, they can also be a great resource for connecting you with people or helping you to find opportunities that may align with what you're looking to do. And similarly with exhibit booths, again, a lot of organizations have booths in the exhibit hall. And again, the representatives who are there may not be the right person for you to talk to, but if you're interested in people at that institution, it can get you great inside information about their hiring processes and how they go about it. And also those people may be able to connect you with the people who you might be interested in working with. So similarly, seminars, in your department, at your institution, and also at institutions in your area. And right now is actually a great opportunity to meet people through seminars, because most institutions are opening up their seminars to a worldwide audience. Again, with everything being virtual and pretty much there's no cost, a lot of institutions are opening up the speakers they're having and the workshops they're having. And so you can attend these, hear people talk, and then again, reach out to these people afterwards, make those connections, and talk to them about opportunities. So the final thing we'll talk about is when do you actually start looking for a position? And so we'll do one final Mentimeter poll, and I'll ask you, when do you think you should start looking for a postdoc position? Just give it another minute for anyone to enter in their responses. All right, so it looks like most people think about a year in advance, with a couple other people with other answers. This is somewhat a trick question because really you should be, it depends on how you define looking. And also there's things you should be doing pretty much at all of these different time points. So, as early as possible, it's really a good time to take advantage of the opportunities to network and to explore different possibilities and options. It's also, never too early to start thinking about what your ideal position looks like, reviewing those factors, what's going to be most important for you, what types of opportunities are you looking for, and then starting a list of potential labs and institutions that you may want to investigate further, or develop those networking relationships so you can really get the answers to the questions and find out if that's going to be a good match for you. And networking, like anything, is always best done before you actually are in need of it. So the best time to find a job is before you need one. And that, again, by building your network, you have that pool available of people who you can reach out to once you're ready to go on the job market, and also who may reach out to you proactively when they find out opportunities, or when they have something available or have funding available for a postdoc. So about 1 year before you finish your doctoral degree, or before you're looking to start a postdoc position, it's a good time to really finalize your list, figure out which opportunities you want to apply to, who you want to potentially work for. And then, and to do this, you're going to conduct your research and utilize your network to really have those conversations, prioritize which labs or which PIs you think would be the best opportunity, present the best opportunity for you, so that you can really focus your application process. And then about 6 to 9 months before finishing your degree, or you're ready to start your postdoc, you're going to actually start applying, right? So you're going to send your CV and a personalized cover letter to those PIs or those institutions that you've identified as the best opportunities for you. And when you do that, you really want to make sure that you're expressing specifically why you're interested in them. So why them, why that opportunity, how what you're bringing is going to help them, and how that matches with what you're looking to get out of the opportunity. Again, I worked for about 10 years as a postdoctoral recruiter, and I was always surprised at the number of applications we would receive who didn't bother to do this, right? Who sent clearly a very generic cover letter or cover email to a PI or to an application portal, that didn't really get into why that was a good match, what they would bring specifically that was going to help that lab, and what it was that they were looking to get out of that experience. And so doing that can really help to set you apart. And then finally, you're going to want to conduct your interviews about 4 to 6 months before you'd like to start a position. So this allows enough time for the interview and evaluation process to take place, and also gives you enough time to plan to move if you need to do that. So again, getting all those logistics together, finding new housing, coordinating transportation of your stuff, helping whoever's coming with you find opportunities or get settled, with schools or whatever else they need to find in the area. So ideally what you want to do is try to have interviews and visits, whether that's virtual or in person, with multiple institutions or with multiple labs. So again, so you can evaluate, a couple different opportunities. So you really have the ability to determine what's going to be the best fit for you, not just one, but you compare and contrast between a couple different options. And if possible, you also want to try to group your interviews, relatively close together in time. So that way it facilitates your ability to make a decision about opportunities, and also allows you to have keep options open, right? So if you're interviewing with someone, you can let them know, look, I've got another couple interviews lined up in the next few weeks. If they do extend you an offer, like I've got another couple interviews lined up, and I'll be ready to make a decision, by the end of the month or something like that. And people are much more likely to keep an opportunity open and available for you if they kind of have a set timeline on when they can expect to hear back from you, as opposed to a never-ending decision. And that allows you to, again, conduct all your interviews, explore all your options, see where you get offers from, and decide what's going to be the best opportunity for you. And so that's everything I had today for you. So I'm happy to take any questions that have come in. Again, please feel free to unmute yourselves and ask them, or if anybody you feel more comfortable asking them in the chat or the Q&A, I'm happy to answer anything that you may be wondering about.
Hi, Heather. Can I ask you a question? You mentioned EPIC. Is that a program that you can get enrolled into and that helps train you to take on the roles of a postdoc? Did I get that right?
Our EPIC training is actually for our UC San Diego postdocs. So it's not for people interested in postdoc opportunities. It's for people who are already postdocs at UC San Diego and helps them to prepare for the next stage in their career. So from their postdoc to their next training opportunity. And it's not a formal program that people enroll in. It's a series of courses that we offer for training for our postdocs, but it's people can take it as, a complete curriculum, which is how we have it designed, or people can pick and choose and take just portions and individual seminars that are offered.
I see. Thank you.
Yep.
Hi, may I ask a question? So I'm in my last year, and I think that most of my work I'll be publishing on that last year, probably after I graduate or by the time that I'm graduating. So I'm wondering how important having those publications ready before we apply to postdocs are, so that we get selected.
Yeah, I mean, again, obviously, if you can have anything that's in submission or, been accepted, even if it's not published yet, that's obviously the best situation. But even if you have stuff that's like in preparation or you're getting ready to get out, I would still say, most PIs will understand that, you're going through your grad school. Obviously, you're putting together papers. Some of those may not be totally published by the time you're finishing. So go ahead and put those on your CV and just make sure you're very clear that it's, again, what the stage is, right? So it's in preparation or submitted, and if it's submitted, where you submitted it. And then the other thing I advise is that you ask your PI or any of your references who are knowledgeable about your publications to specifically mention those that aren't published yet, in their recommendation for you, so that there's some more support from that to say, like, yes, this person's putting together this publication, we're submitting it, I'm expecting it, I'm really expecting it to be successful and accepted at whatever journal. So that way it lends some more credence to not just you listing it as, yeah, I'm writing this up and we're going to send it somewhere, but your PI actually, who has some more experience, is backing you up and saying, yes, this is going to be a real publication and this is where we expect, we kind of expect it to be published at, this journal or that journal.
This is a great advice. Thanks so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Heather, 2 questions came into the Q&A box. One is, what are your opinions on industry postdocs? What are the benefits compared to just an entry PhD job?
All right, so great question. Transitioning from academia to industry can be somewhat challenging. And there's a couple different avenues you can pursue that. An industry postdoc can be a great way to get your foot in the door, especially out of graduate school. As you mentioned, it's not an absolute requirement. So again, it depends on what your interest is and what you'd like to do. And again, thinking about what are your goals for your postdoc, right? Is there something that you feel like you could get additional training in or support, or that you want to explore? Maybe you're not 100% sure industry is the right step for you, so you do an industry postdoc, and then you can evaluate if that's the correct next step for you before you kind of take in an entire step outside of academia by taking a job in industry. But I think often industry employers can be a little often want to see a track record of somebody working in industry successfully, when instead of just coming straight out of an academic environment. So that's where doing a postdoc can be really helpful for that. But again, you're going to need to factor what you want to do. And I think if you want to go into an industry career, you really want to do a relatively short postdoc. So wherever you do a postdoc, if you do it in academia or if you do it in industry, most industry postdoc programs are relatively short. So again, like 1 to 2 years. And same thing if you do an academic postdoc and decide you want to go into industry, you're better off. It's to your advantage to do kind of a 1 to 2 year postdoc, get a publication or something successful out of it, and then transition to industry, because industry doesn't necessarily value, they just want to see, okay, you've had some postdoc training, but additional years beyond that aren't really going to benefit you as far as higher salaries or the level of position that you've transitioned into. So let me know, whoever asked that question, if there's other aspects that I didn't get to, please let me know and I will try to elaborate further. So I'm looking through the other questions. Are there specific postdoc opportunities or programs available for underrepresented or minority students? Yes. So again, there are two different ways you can look at this. So some institutions will have postdoc programs specifically recruiting. So a lot of those are faculty preparation programs, and often they come with funding. There are also specific postdoc fellowships funding for students from underrepresented or BIPOC backgrounds. So you can explore both of those opportunities. Other things to keep in mind are, again, training grants. So there's a lot of funding opportunity for training grants, and those come from the federal government. And some of them are research-based, so it's more funding for your research training. And a lot of times those have citizenship requirements, but also are geared towards providing support for underrepresented or minority students. Some training grants are actually specifically tied to training for a particular type of career or additional training outside of research. So like, for example, we have the ERACTA program at UC San Diego, which is teaching based. So it's, again, provides teaching training in addition to supplement your research training as part of that. All right. So how are university and research institutions different for postdoc positions? So they can be very similar, and there also can be differences. The main difference between a university and a research institution is typically degree programs. So a lot of times it's access to or availability of mentoring opportunities and also teaching opportunities. So at a university like UC San Diego, obviously we have an undergraduate population, we have grad programs, and so there's a lot of students on campus. So if you're interested in teaching opportunities or interested in mentoring students at different levels, usually you have a lot more access to students who are researching within the different groups. So there's opportunities to both teach and mentor within the research environment. At a research institution, again, sometimes they will have graduate programs. Pretty much, I can't think of an example where there's undergraduate training programs, except maybe like summer training programs. And sometimes they will have undergraduates who may do an internship or a brief research stint in a lab, but they don't have undergraduate courses. So there's more limited opportunities to teach unless the research institution has a formal partnership with a university. And usually the labs tend to have a more senior level composition. So it's usually more postdocs and maybe a few graduate students, whereas a university lab tends to be a little more, there's be a fewer postdocs and maybe more graduate students and undergrads who are in the mix. But it also, again, depending on the university and the research institutions can sometimes have a more specific focus. And so there's less breadth of research that's going on. Most research universities tend to be fairly diverse and have more different types of research areas and research being conducted. So that's another difference that comes up. Great questions.
All right, Heather, thank you so much for all of this amazing information. We will have this recording available next week if you want to pass it on to any of your peers. And you can always contact Heather. She works in the graduate division if you have any questions. Thank you, everybody, for being here today.
All right, thanks, everyone, and good luck.